Everyone, welcome. We'll give folks a couple minutes here to join in, and then we'll get started. Can everyone see my screen? Perfect. All right, well, we are going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Rhiannon Johnson, and I'm the Career Resources and Financial Literacy Specialist at the Kansas City Public Library. And today we're going to talk about LinkedIn and personal branding. So just a couple housekeeping notes here. Your questions are very welcome. You can share them in the Q&A or in the chat. It's up to you. If you have some technical issues, you can put those in the chat too. I will be monitoring that throughout our session today. You can also raise your hand using the functions on Zoom to raise your hand, and I will answer your questions as soon as possible. This isn't a super personal topic, so but just always please don't ask any personal or share any personally identifying information. And if you have any individual needs for assistance, we can certainly connect afterwards as well. But this topic is pretty broad, so we should be in good shape. All right, so LinkedIn and personal branding, we'll dive right in here. So I always think of LinkedIn, it kind of has kind of two sides. It has a side that you can share information about yourself, but it also has a side where you can look at information that other people have put on LinkedIn. So you can kind of participate in LinkedIn in a variety of ways, either as a consumer or as kind of a more active participant, or you can do both. Myself personally, I can be a bit of a reluctant LinkedIn user. I'm a little more on that purely consumer side, and sure, I will share things or put, have things updated in my profile, but it's not something that brings me a ton of joy, right? But today we're going to talk a little bit about how we might be able to increase that joy, increase your messaging, and really connect with folks on LinkedIn in a really authentic way that helps further your career, as well as just make the most out of the platform. So we're going to start off with more of that consumer side. So more of that side where you're taking in the information and you are exploring and things along those lines. So there are a bunch of different ways you can search on LinkedIn. And so I will go through those and show a couple different examples here. So I am going to, and I'm also going to toggle back and forth between my slides as well as LinkedIn, the application itself. So I am now going to switch over here, and I'm going to put our LinkedIn page up, and we will take a peek here. All right, so this is just, what you would see when you log in on LinkedIn. This is my homepage, right? So, again, as people have questions, I will certainly get to those. So again, you go to this is your main LinkedIn page. As you open it up, obviously it has your feed, people posting things, making announcements, posting things or commenting, all of those different pieces. All of the news pieces, the articles, things along those lines. So the very first thing I'm going to show you is the Alumni Tool. So I went to the University of Kansas. So that was one of the places I've gone. So I will type that in, and you can do this for your institutions too. If you attended 2-year, 4-year, beyond, you can search those. And they also might have, some high schools might have it too, if you have a high school diploma. But if you go to the institution page, down here you can go to alumni. And so you can search, let's say you want to see what people are doing in marketing. So you can see that this is the amount of alumni, 168,294 alumni are on LinkedIn. That doesn't mean that they're all of them, but that means that those are the folks who have a LinkedIn profile. So let's say we want to see who's doing what in the marketing world. So we can type in marketing just as a keyword. You can get more general or more specific than that. Marketing is pretty broad. But you can use these little tools here. So if you type in marketing, it's going to show you where they live, where they work. And if you click more here, it's going to dial down these different little buckets and kind of show you different things here. If you click next, it's going to show you what they do. It's going to show you what they studied. So let's say we want to see communication studies. So we can click on communication studies, and then we want to see, maybe we want to relocate. Maybe we want to relocate to Denver. So we can click on Denver, and then we can scroll down and we can see all of the folks who graduated from the University of Kansas who have Denver marketing and communications in their profile. And so these are all, if you keep scrolling, these are all the folks. You can do it for other institutions too. Obviously, KU is not the only one. Every institution should have kind of an alumni page that people can kind of connect through. So you can get rid of Denver. Let's get rid of marketing. We can kind of clear all. Maybe you want to find somebody that studied there a specific year. Maybe you want to find a recent graduate, or maybe you want to find someone who graduated when you did. You want to catch up with someone, see if they're on LinkedIn. This could be a way to do that. If you want to take it, you can also do it by organization. So let's say you want to explore, maybe you're interested in working let's see, maybe you're interested in working at Cerner. So you can type Cerner in here, and then it's going to show you all of the folks where they live, again, where they work. So if you just click on Cerner, all of these little dials are going to change, right? And then you can see the other folks that maybe worked at Cerner and then moved on somewhere else, or vice versa. They've worked somewhere else and then gone to Cerner. But you can kind of then see all of the folks who work there. So you can do it that way as well. So it just helps you kind of slice and dice information about what's out there on LinkedIn. Again, you can search other institutions. So you could do Truman State would be another example. This was a university I did for someone the other day. Again, you can do alumni, and you can do the same kind of thing. So you can see these graphical representations of where people are. And then you can just kind of explore that way. All right, that's one way. Another thing you can do a very similar kind of search. So if we go back to the home page, another option for you in terms of searching would be, let's say we want to see who works at the Mid-America Regional Council here in Kansas City. So we could search for an organization, and you can click on people. So instead of alumni, you click on people, or you can even just see all 178 employees on LinkedIn. It also tells you, of course, how many people from one of your schools was hired there or were hired there as well. So if you click on people, again, you can see where they live, where they studied. Again, if you hit the little next key, you can see what they do and specifically their degree area. So let's say I want to see the information technology folks that work at the Mid-America Regional Council here in Kansas City. So I click on that, and then I can scroll through, I can see them. This is a really great tool because what you can do is then you can click on folks, and you can see a little bit about their profile. You can see the path they took to get to where they are, where they started. And so it just gives you a nice idea in terms of, okay, this is what this person's up to now, but this is the path they built to get there. So if you have aspirations to transition careers, if you have aspirations to switch careers or continue to adjust or move or grow into certain roles, this can be a really cool way to give you some additional ideas about what's out there, and as well as industry information about who hires people with what types of skills, what types of backgrounds, academically, as well as experiences. So that can help you get more information in that way too. So if we go back to the home page, and then the other thing you can do is search by job type. So let's say you're interested in a marketing analyst position. You type in marketing analyst, and that's just one word, right? Or one type of, we could use a lot of different kinds of job titles. So if you click on people, it's gonna bring up people who have marketing analyst as their title on LinkedIn. So that's another way. So let's say that that was something you wanted to transition into for your career, or that was a goal for you. You could see what folks have done. You can click on them and kind of see the paths that they've built, the skills that they're talking about that they have. And that way you can kind of compare and say, okay, what are people in my field doing? What are they posting? What are their profiles look like? Because I think it's going to vary across industry what people are sharing on LinkedIn, what kinds of information they're sharing, what kind of, how robust their profiles might be, how limited they might be, things that they might be linking or not linking. Maybe they're pretty straightforward. So I think you'll see a lot of variance throughout the entire platform. All right, I'm going to pause to see if anyone has any questions about these specific search demos. Okay. The other thing that you can do is search jobs. I really like the LinkedIn job platform, the job board, because it gets smarter with time. So you can search for, again, skills, companies, things along those lines. Oh, and I see a chat just came through, and I will get to that in 1 second. But what you can do is on these little dots here for each position, you can kind of scroll through, and let's say, I know that I'm not going to be, let's see, I'm trying to see if a good example here. Let's see, so director of admissions at a university. I know I probably wouldn't be qualified for that, right? And I'm not interested. So I would click these 3 dots and I would say, not for me. And so then it goes away, right? And then the algorithm gets smarter with time. And so it does a better job recording or sharing jobs that you might be interested in on your job board, the more you respond and interact with it. All right, so I saw I had a chat come through that someone had a question, so let's take a quick peek here. All right, perfect. We'd like to remove dates for college. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. So if someone wants to know how they can remove the dates of when they were in school or when they went to college, I'll have to take a peek and follow up with you on that one. I don't know right off the top of my head how you might be able to remove that. So we'll have to look at the settings and then follow back up with you. All right, so if we go back to, so that's the job board function. The other thing you can do is request to join organizations. And as someone who is not an avid networker, I'm not, it's not necessarily my favorite thing in the world to do. Or, sometimes that can feel a little intimidating to me or to other people, and I help people do it for my job, right? But one of the really nice things you can do is you can request to join organizations. So, and that can help you reach out to other people in those organizations. So for example, for my, for my field, I do career work. So I help people with career development, career decision-making. So if I just, type in career, so the National Career Development Association, that is one of the main career organizations for folks who help people with their career, their career progress, their career coaching, all of these things. So if I click on that, I can see, who works there. I can also see what they've been posting, which is great for my own professional development. But the other thing that you could do is I can see other people who are involved in, this is the kind of that slicing, dicing piece. If I go back to the home page, I can see what they've all posted. I can see what other people have posted. I can comment on it. I can see, so this is them posting, right? But I can comment on things. I can see what other people have said on here. And so, I can see all of the comments here. If I click here, I can see all of these folks. I can see what people are up to. I can see, all right, who's all in this group? What kind of conversations are they having? Let's say I wanted to potentially connect to someone here. Then it's really easy for me to respond to their comment or to like what they said, right? That helps me kind of warm them up, so for lack of a better term. So let's say I wanted to connect with Kimberly and I can respond to her comment or to something that she said. in the group, and then I can follow up with a direct message. I can follow up with an invitation to connect. So that usually helps people kind of yield a little bit better result when they go to do that invitation to connect. Because sometimes if you just reach out to someone blindly, if you don't know them, they might be like, well, why are you reaching out to me, right? So I always suggest you customize that message. But if you are also, again, trying to, really connect with someone that you'd like to really develop a connection with them, or you'd like to see their profile because it kind of restricts down what you can see based on who your connections are and who they're connected, right? So it's kind of like the power of connection. So if you have a third degree connection, you can see them, but if you don't have any connections with somebody, then you might not be able to see as much on their profile. So, maybe you do want to really explore what they've done professionally. And so this can be a really nice way to reach out. You can mention the group, you can mention, and if they've seen you interact with them or seen you like their, they've noticed that you liked their comment or whatever it might be, or a post that they've shared, then that really helps warm them up so that when you go to request them, it's like, oh yeah, I know this person. I've seen them, interacting. We have a similar professional connection. So without having to go and kind of say, wait, now why does this person want to connect with me? I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, right. They do similar work, but it wasn't maybe evident from the beginning. So that's a really nice strategy to help you kind of reach out and connect to people, or kind of warm up those connections in advance before sending that invitation to connect. Can be doing that through different groups and organization features. And so that's really, again, if you go back to that home page here, if you go down, if you search, it'll let you search. So even if I just search career, you can see it lets you search jobs, people, posts, groups, companies. So you can kind of filter it through that way. So, or if you wanted to type in, maybe you were in physical therapy, and then you can see the groups here. You can see all of the different groups for physical therapy associations, and you can kind of, again, sometimes they'll post jobs, which can be really helpful. So sometimes these groups that are really active can be really nice ways to engage and connect with other people on LinkedIn. Okay, I'm gonna pause my share here, and I'm gonna, as I swap back to my slides, open time to ask any questions. All right, are we back to slides? Here we go. All right, so if you would like to, so speaking of connecting to people, I always suggest that you do write that invitation to connect. And so when you do that, I suggest that you direct it to them. I suggest that you also kind of find or share or disclose how you found their profile, how you found out about them, right? Or why you're interested in connecting with them. So Scout Johnson is my dog. So I use her as my little sign off here, but you would use your own name, right? So these are made up people, made up names, but kind of how you find their profile, maybe, how, if you found it through a group, again, enjoying the articles or discussions, if you're considering a career in that area, or if you just want to learn more, kind of, again, the ask, right? It's the why are you interested in connecting with someone you don't know, or you haven't been introduced to, or you haven't connected with before. So that's when it's kind of a blind connection, right? Or you don't have anything in common with them beyond an interest in the same area. The other thing you can do is ask for an informational interview, or if someone suggests that you connect to someone else, this is another way to do it. So an informational interview would be you requesting to have like 15 to 20 minutes of someone's time to learn about their career, their time in the field. It helps you just kind of learn more about what opportunities are out there, what kind of skills might be available. This is particularly useful if you're job searching or looking to do a career transition into a different field. And so this would be maybe someone, maybe you were sharing with someone in your circle, someone connected to you, that you are interested in a certain field, or you're interested in learning more about a certain type of position or working for a certain company. So then in that way, you could say, and they say, oh, I know someone, you should reach out to so-and-so. So then you can get on LinkedIn, you can connect with them if the person didn't actually facilitate like an email connection or something like that. But then you can kind of use that person, say, so-and-so suggested that I reach out to you. Would you have time? You know, and so this can be kind of the second step. So first would be inviting them to connect. The second could be doing an informational interview if you kind of like what you see in their profile and you want to learn more about their career path, their job, the company they work at, etc. Okay. So I'm going to pause here and see if anyone has any questions about researching or using LinkedIn as a research tool. I'm going to stop my share here. Good question. So someone asked, why do sometimes people's profiles will just say LinkedIn member with no name? And that's a good question. So sometimes that happens when people use the privacy settings to really kind of tighten down on their profile. And unless you are connected to them in some, you know, it's like the so many degrees of separation, right? If you're not connected to them closely, at least by a third degree connection, so it would be like if I was connected to person A and they were connected to person B, so then they're kind of, it's so many ones removed, right? So if it gets past that circle of so many removed, it's not going to share their name just because that's, they have set that as a privacy feature, is that they don't want anybody beyond the, you know, so many people removed from their connections to see their name. So that's sometimes why it says that. So any other questions here? Let's see. I think we're good. Okay. So we are now going to transition into, so that's again, using LinkedIn as a researching tool for your job search, for a career transition, to explore, to connect professionally with other people. That is kind of the easy way, right? That's the easy thing, at least for me. Now we're going to talk and switch gears a little bit and talk about how you kind of, again, do that personal branding, how you put information out there about yourself in a way that's professional and also approachable, authentic, all of those good pieces. So I am going to get my slides back up here. Okay, so these are my top tips for LinkedIn profiles, and these are tips that I found through articles and researching and doing my own profile, as well as reading articles again and kind of just exploring the whole content. So you want to describe what makes you tick. So you really want people to know this is what I'm all about. You also want to explain your present role and frame your past. So a lot of times, if you, in your experience section, so it's not like a resume, right, where you have a limited amount of space, you can only include so much information. You can include as much as you want on LinkedIn. Sure, you want to be mindful that you're not going on and on and on and on, but you want to be concise to a certain extent. But again, you can really use descriptions, you can use phrases, full sentences, and paragraphs, whereas on your resume, it's a quick action statements that are conveying your value. Whereas here, you can kind of tell a story. You can say, this is where I got my start. This is when I started learning about this, or this is when I became aware of this, and then that sparked this interest in me to do X, Y, and Z. And so that can be really helpful. You want to claim your custom LinkedIn URL, and I can show you how to do that here in a minute. But there's a place where you can go on LinkedIn where you can, you can change the URL so it doesn't have the gobbledygook at the end, and it's just your name or whatever variation you choose. So that way you can put it on your resume and it looks nice and clean. You can put it on your email, signature. It looks nice and clean. That really helps kind of clean that piece up. Highlight your successes, reveal your character. So with those two, using numbers, right? Just like in a resume, this improved by this percentage, or, because of my work here, I recruited this many more people, or we improved efficiency by this percent, right? So highlighting those pieces, revealing your character. And so that really comes, I think, in the summary section. So you can kind of talk a little bit about showing, the things that bring you joy or the things that are interesting to you. And I think that can be really helpful. Number 6, show your life outside of work. I think that, that is also, the amount that you disclose about what is outside of work is is kind of, again, a personal preference, whether you share a little or a lot. I think LinkedIn is kind of that balance between you're not maybe sharing as much as you might on like a profile like a Facebook or an Instagram, but you're definitely sharing some pieces about your personality. It's not supposed to be kind of a cut and dry place where, you know, again, it's supposed to be very different than a resume. It's supposed to be kind of like a living portfolio of kind of your path. So adding rich media, so that would be, you can link different articles or different projects that you've worked on. So for example, I'm recording this, I could link this on my LinkedIn profile as an example of the work that I do. I could link if I wrote a guide or something, or if I worked on a website. Those are all things you can link. You can link reports, again, anything that you would be allowed to share within the context of your role, you can link those, and that can be a nice way to really show evidence of the work you've done. Eliminate jargon and cliches and buzzwords, right? So you don't want people don't want to read your profile and say, oh, I'm so motivated, or I'm a go-getter, or flexible, adaptable. I mean, those are good words, but you want to be careful in how often you use buzzwords that you have to back them up, right? So if you're going to say that you're flexible, you have to demonstrate it a little bit more than just say, I'm flexible. You can't just say team player, and that doesn't really help you share that you're doing that. So instead of talking about how much, you know, instead of just saying I'm a team player, you could say I'm a team player who likes to collaborate with you know, other people, and get really into the detail of why you're a team player. You can't just necessarily say it. And again, just kind of reviewing your profile for words that might be cliche. Again, kind of those kind of overused words. And if you Googled it, you would probably see lots of articles about overused words on LinkedIn. So you can maybe check some of that out. Write how you talk. So again, with your resume, it's very action oriented. You have statements that are in, you know, past tense or present tense. You want to, you know, you're trying to convey your value in a short amount of space and a short amount of time. In LinkedIn, you can be much more informal, and you can kind of write in a sentence structure that's a little more narrative. You can write in a way that's a little more flexible and a little more approachable. So you have that freedom and flexibility to show some personality. And we'll show some sample profiles here that you can dive into as well. And then lastly, again, tell stories. That kind of comes, you know, brings everything full circle to 1 and 2 a little bit, right? Where you're really sharing, this is my professional journey. This is my path. This is, you know, what I'm working on right now. You can also, again, share things, like I said, outside of what your 9 to 5 is. You can share. So for example, on my profile, I used to teach group fitness. So I have that I taught group fitness on there. Some of the profiles I'm going to show you, they have an art site where they do art on the side. And so they sell their art. And so they have that linked there. So, you know, you can just kind of be more free flowing with your profile. All right. So I saw a question come in here. So let me get to that. Good question. So the recorded version of this, we'll end up putting it eventually on our YouTube, and I can send it out to all of the participants as well. And so you can have access. I'll send out a link at the end, and it might be tomorrow or later today. So, but that will be sent out to everyone as well. And then long term, look on the library's YouTube. All right. So I'm gonna swap over here. And let's see. Okay, here we go. So diving into promoting yourself. So these are kind of the bones of your LinkedIn profile, right? Your photo, cover photo, headline, summary, your experience entries, education, which I didn't have on here, but I think it kind of forces you to fill it out for the most part. Skills, endorsement, and then your linked content, which is the media. So that could be like PDFs or photos or videos, things along those lines. So now we're going to dive into some samples, because I think the hardest part is, again, that headline and that summary. So we'll spend the most time there, but we're going to dive right into profile photo and cover photo examples. All right, so these are maybe a little blurry, but these are good examples. These aren't necessarily, you know, these folks are wearing what they would wear to work. Their photos they're not in a suit and tie, they're not in a jacket. They're not in a, you know, they don't have a fancy backdrop. So these are all pretty casual photos. You know, you want to take a photo of you by yourself. And I think any of these photos of these folks could have been taken on a smartphone, right? So some tips for that: you just want whoever's taking your photo to either be straight directly across from you, or a little above you, taking your photo from above, not necessarily, you know, standing on a chair, but you know, having a little bit of either space or height differential can really help instead of shooting you from underneath. That is usually the more flattering way to have folks get your or to take your photo. Also, on days that aren't sunny, it might sound counterintuitive, but if you go outside on a sunny day, you will have more shadows on your face in the background. And so on days when it's a little more overcast, that would be a good day to go outside and have someone snap a photo. It doesn't have to be a, this was taken in a studio kind of photo. That does not have to be what you have on your profile. It certainly can be. That's what mine is, but that's just because that's what I have. And someday I might want to change that to be a little more relaxed, right? And that's totally fine. It's a completely personal preference here. But these folks, again, I think they have approachable, casual photos that are still professional. You know, this guy works for, the guy on the right works for like a video game company, I think. And so you can just kind of tell that, you know, he's got the logo, he's got some things in the background, and the other folks, I'm not quite sure they have. I think this person has photos of maybe them doing a presentation, and then this person just has the typical kind of the generic LinkedIn background, and that's fine too for a cover photo. You don't have to do that, but I think it, again, helps you just share that personality a little bit more. Here's another example. So if we dive into the headline, which is this part right here, right? And she says that she has product marketing, and I can't read it because my other computer's in front of it. But product marketing, you can kind of see exactly what she says. She just uses her job title here, right? And this is then a photo of her working. This is a photo of her engaging, right? So you could use that. You can use a photo where you live, which we'll see an example of that in a minute. But so again, she just has a title here of what she does and where she works. However, that doesn't necessarily always give you the best or share as much information or personality, which mine is just my title, and that's fine. You can do it that way, but people will already know that she works at SurveyMonkey. People will see that she does product marketing because in her profile, she's going to say that, right? So it's already going to show up there. And so if you want to, again, get a little more creative, you have that flexibility to do so. And I'll show you that here in a second. So Genevieve, this is a good example. So she has her title, or her kind of general title here, which again, you don't even have to have, but she is optimist, passionately curious, driven to deliver excellence. So she kind of has three different pieces of what she wants people to know, like front and center about her as a professional person. This is what they, and as just a human, right? This is what she wants them to know, that she's an optimist, she's curious, and she wants, you know, she's driven to deliver excellence and wants that to be good. Here's another example down at the bottom of the screen. You can see this is in her summary, the about section. She says, "Oh, hello there." That's how she starts it off. Very casual, very, you know, it's not, you know, really structured speech. It's just really a little more informal. And so I really like, you know, these two things that LinkedIn really lets you do. This really is a good example of kind of showing that flexibility, showing how you can start, you know, with your summary with a little more casual conversation. It doesn't have to be quite so structured. All right. And you can see she just has a standard, Genevieve just has a standard photo here in the back in terms of the cover photo. All right, here's our next person here. You can see they have a photo of, it looks like a stadium, a baseball stadium. So that might be something that they really enjoy. San Francisco, maybe they get to go to a lot of games. Maybe, you know, before COVID, maybe they went to a lot of games they enjoyed. You know, that was a part of maybe the culture of where they live. So you can kind of, again, be a little more personable in these background photos as well. And I didn't highlight this, but they do have their title here. They have a little statement. So they spark joy in recruiting and enable candidates. And I won't read the rest of it because I can't see it. But so they have a little statement that says, this is what I do. This is what I'm all about. This is my quick summary. You know, if you don't know anything else about me, this is what you need to know. But what I really like to share with you is Bruce's description here, his summary. So he kind of breaks it down into three short paragraphs, and you can just do a couple sentences. That's completely fine. But he starts out with a little entry that kind of expands. So he's a senior recruiter. So he works at an organization as a recruiter and wants to help people and candidates connect to work that they enjoy, right? So, but what he says here, you know, I'm data-driven and an insightful recruiter who is passionate about growing teams and dreams. And then he gives you some context, right? That piece of where have you been? Where are you going, right? So from private startups to public Fortune 500 companies, I've grown my skills. And then he, you know, goes on to talk about his skills. Down here, he talks a little bit about, you know, when I'm not recruiting, I'm doing these things. And it's, you know, it's again, pretty standard things like, it looks like he watches Game of Thrones and reruns of The Office and talks a little bit about, you know, a neighborhood he likes in San Francisco. So you can kind of get a feel for him outside of work, right? If this was me personally, I'd probably talk about exercise and my dog and cooking. Those would probably be, you know, the main things I would share, right? So again, you want to just think about what would I share that lets people know me a little bit, but is it, you know, full on like things that you would maybe share with your friends, you know, in deep conversations. So, but I really like this. It's kind of a 3-part summary where, you know, talking about maybe some philosophies, kind of the why, right? So, and I really like my joy in recruiting. So that's what he really, you know, he's really driven about that. This part up here, you know, and if we don't, we'll keep the conversation going. So really, again, focusing on, you can tell that he's motivated. You can tell that he wants to connect with people. You can tell that he really enjoys his field. All right, I'm gonna pause and see if there are any other questions. And then I'm gonna dive into some more samples. All right, I'm going to flip back to our LinkedIn example here. All right, so I'm going to go back to our Liesl Edelstein, or Edelstein. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her name, but you know, go back to her profile here. So if we scroll through, again, it looks like she's moved on since you know, her initial profile. But you can see again the activity. You can see her experience. Here she doesn't even talk about really what she's done, right? She doesn't really go through the experience entries, but she does here. And this is where, again, I think that really she's showing what she's been up to and what kind of work she's done that has launched the company forward, right? So she can say that the company, you know, she was one of the first 500 employees. The company exceeded 1,020 employees after her 4th year. So it kind of, again, she's showing what she did and her value. Here's another one, achieved 100%. So again, including some of those numbers to demonstrate her highlights or successes. She's also linked, so this is an example of where you can link different projects, different websites, different media. You can link those here in your profile. She's got several of those that she's done throughout the times. And here's, again, if she's, you know, looks like she's also has an art as a side gig or as a side hustle or something that she just does for fun, but that's something that she's sharing with other people. And you can see those links there. You can also list volunteer experience, again, things outside of just work. Here's another volunteer experience. And again, then this is when you get into the skills and endorsements. So you can endorse people and you can ask people to endorse you. And so usually when you endorse someone, even if you just do it on LinkedIn, if you're generous in those endorsements, a lot of times then it will promote your page to be endorsed by other people. So the more you endorse people, and you want to be honest, you know, you don't want to endorse someone for something that doesn't feel authentic to you or that you feel like they're good at, or you know, you can say, I don't want to be endorsed for this skill. That's certainly something you can do on your own profile, but then that puts the things out there for other people to endorse as well. Also recommendations, that's another. So other people can write recommendations for you, maybe previous coworkers or current coworkers, supervisors, managers. Also, so again, it's the same philosophy. You want to be generous in your recommendations, and then I think that will also kind of come back around for you as well. If you are very giving in those recommendations, hopefully other people will also reciprocate that. So whether you're writing about someone, as a manager, you've had a good experience, they were a wonderful supervisor, or someone you've supervised. So that can just kind of help build up your profile as well as build up others. This is another place to do accomplishments. Again, you can link publications, list honors and awards, all sorts of things along those lines. You can see the groups and interests that they follow down here. So that can give you ideas too if you are interested in, similar, if you're looking at someone's profile and they do similar work, they might have other interests on here that you could follow too. So that's a little bit about kind of just a tour through the profile here. And her summary is pretty long, actually. So not quite as, it's a little longer than the other person's, but she has a little bit more, so she has a ice cream piece here that's kind of funny. It sounds like it's an ice cream shop that she goes to. So again, you can just kind of, again, be a little more flexible, be a little more open. You don't have to be, but it's up to you and how you want to show up here. Again, she's got kind of this piece of outside of work. So again, giving people a picture of who you are fully as a person. And because those things show up with you at work too. So it's kind of curating that vision and that information that you want to share. All right, I am going to stop sharing. What other questions do we have? I'm going to open it up for questions at this point in time and see if anybody has other questions about LinkedIn before we do a little bit of closing thoughts here. See, I want it from this slide. Okay, so some closing thoughts from me, and then we'll dive into some questions. Don't let comparison be the thief of joy. LinkedIn can be a really place where you see other people posting things. You can see other people the way they've promoted themselves or the information they've shared, and sometimes that can be a little. It's like, oh, I'm comparing myself to them, or I'm never going to have a profile that's as good as this, or maybe I'm not going to be as good of a worker or as good of a professional, right? I think that it becomes really easy across all social media platforms to have that kind of comparison piece of, well, so-and-so is doing this awesome thing, why am I not, right? But try not to let that comparison be the thief of joy. Really try to focus on things that you do well, your own unique strengths and skills, and how do you highlight those? How do you communicate those? And that can be something that really can let your profile shine through. And maybe talking to coworkers or talking to friends and family, if you're having a hard time coming up with those ideas, maybe those folks can help say, oh, well, you do this really, really well. Or did you ever know that you were good at this? Or you helped me do whatever it might be, right? And so helping, so kind of communicating that value can be really helpful throughout your process. One other thing that I think is important is I encourage you to do a little bit every day or every week. It doesn't have to be every day, but I think that, sometimes building a profile can feel really overwhelming from the beginning. It's kind of like, oh, I'm starting from scratch, or and talking about yourself maybe isn't necessarily the most fun thing in the world. At least, again, I know for me it's not. So I always try to break it down a little bit and say, okay, well, today I'm going to work on my summary, or today I'm going to review it. I'm going to update it a little bit, or today I'm going to adjust this, my background photo, or in a couple of weeks I'm going to work on, this week I'm going to work on updating some media. I'm going to link a couple of things, or whatever it might be. So break it down either by day or by week or by month in some way that makes it feel manageable, instead of, oh gosh, now I have to get on and do this. I have to build my LinkedIn and I have to get it all done. That's the other thing I really like about LinkedIn, is that it's a living space, right? So it's never done, it's never over. Sure, you can let your profile get stagnant, you can not update it, and that's fine. But if you, post a little bit, share some articles, or you, engage with someone, make a new connection, you can kind of give yourself a little checklist of, every so often I'm going to do some of these things. And that helps keep your profile living. You can always remove things you don't want. So that's the really nice thing, is that, it's never stagnant. It's always going to be something that you can adjust. It kind of adapts with you if you let it and you bring it. And then last but not least, be authentic. Try to figure out how, your personal interests and work are connected, and then how you're communicating that to other people. So just, kind of taking a quick peek, and you can have friends and family take a look too and say, do you think this captures, who I am, or coworkers, right? A trusted peer where you work, maybe or your supervisor or manager, if you have a good relationship. Does this capture me? Does this, what do you think? You can ask other people for advice as well. So with that, I will take a peek and see if there are any other questions here. I'm going to stop my share too. Well, no, I'm not going to stop my share. Sorry. Let me get back here. So I think there was one other question, and I'm just trying to get to the chat here. Just one second. But this is how you can stay in touch with me. I can do individual consultations with you, or with anyone, to help with your LinkedIn profile, to help you, get some of that specific advice, to help give you some feedback, to help you brainstorm, anything along those lines. I'm more than happy to help you with that. And this is how you can stay in touch with me. And question about the custom URL. Sure, absolutely. So let me stop my share here real quick, and I will get back into that custom URL piece. It might take me a second to find it, but we will get there. Just one second. I have the little spinning circle. It'll catch up here in a minute. Okay, are we back on LinkedIn? I think so. All right, so if you go back to LinkedIn and you go to, I believe if you go me, and I believe if you go to settings and privacy, I think. So you can do a couple of other things here on this area too. You can change your search history. You can share all sorts of things about what's available and things along those lines. Let's see, is it under? I have to find it. Profile information. Okay, I think I'm not in the right place. Sometimes it takes a couple clicks to find where I need to go. Let's see, I think maybe here. Yes, here we go. So if you log into your LinkedIn account, you go to me and you click view profile. Up here at the top, you can edit the profile and the URL. So right here, edit your custom URL. So because I have a pretty common last name, I had to add some numbers at the end. But if you just click this, then it'll let you change this backslash. So instead of, because right now, if I hadn't done that, it would probably be Rhiannon Johnson, or when I initially signed up for LinkedIn with a different name, it would have been that name, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hashtag, all of the different kind of coding pieces that come behind that URL. So then you just hit save. So again, if you go back home, that's from the me view profile, and then this is how you edit that. And this is how you go through and again edit all of the different pieces. You can add former names, you can record name pronunciation, which might be good for me to do. Anyway, so you can go through and do all of these different pieces. Again, if you need one-on-one consulting or advice on how you change these things or adjust these different areas, you certainly can. I'm happy to help. I wonder, let's see, someone had the question about school. So let me see, or how to change the dates of when they were in college. So let's see. So if I go down to mine and I hit the edit. So I wonder if you can just delete the education. You might just try deleting education and then seeing if you can enter it again without the dates. You might be able to do it that way. Here's where you would add media, either to, college or university, or, if I wanted to add something here to my position here, wrong click. Let's say I wanted to add a link to the library, to my work at the library, I would click here. And then, and some people are like, oh, I don't want people to, know every time I post something. You can turn that off. So it will show up, but it doesn't necessarily post up in everybody's feed. So that can be nice too. So again, here's how you would upload that media if you wanted to, or link. So that can be another nice tool. All right, well, I am going to put my little slide back up. And does anyone have any other questions? All right, oh, one more. Oh, nope. All right, no more questions. At least, if you all have questions, feel free, but that was another question. Okay. All right, so feel free to stay in touch. Again, my information is here. Feel free to reach out for, again, individual consultations. I help folks with any question related to career development, employment, anything along those lines. I'm happy to connect with you and help you reach those goals. So feel free to reach out, schedule a consultation. I'm more than happy to connect. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care.